What better to come together and talk about some of my favorite projects that I've been loving making lately so that you can get some inspiration. And we're going to link all these full project tutorials so that you can get crafty with your Cricut today or this coming weekend. I am so excited to share with you some of these most popular projects that I know you are bound to enjoy. Are you ready to dive in? Before we do, hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and get ready to master that Cricut with some amazing projects. Okay, when we first taught this project blew up. This is a faux embossed technique, and I love it. I am all about making a simplified design, simplifying things, and doing a white on white combo. Like, this is everything for me right now. I think you're going to love it too. So what we've done is we have walked you through this entire process of the faux embossed element on how you can add it to a t-shirt. But the possibilities do not stop there. Imagine doing this for a sweatshirt. Imagine doing this for a hoodie and really playing on the color on color, right? White on white, tan on tan. That's the way you're going to get the faux embossed look. Because it's looking, when you look at the project, it looks like the actual fabric is embossed. But it's not, and we have a really fun craft hack for you using heat transfer vinyl, using the process with your Cricut to make it look so awesome. And the best part, it's super easy, all right? So I'm going to link the full project tutorial right up here in the cards so that you can go check out the full project tutorial. If you wanna learn supplies, if you wanna learn the hacks, if you wanna learn the full process, it's linked right up there in the cards because guess what? That video blew up. Like, that live stream was popping off, and we have the full in-depth tutorial for you where you're going to learn every step of the way to make this project come together like never before and really give you that faux embossed look. Oh my goodness, this next project is one that you're definitely want to try out. The technique for this type of project is DTV and regular heat transfer vinyl merged together. So what you need to do is learn direct to vinyl projects. So if you've not used DTV, you are missing out. Like, the possibilities are going to blow up when you start using DTV with your regular heat transfer vinyl. This right here is a spin on the Social Club shirts. They're so trendy. You could do an anti project, like this is the Anti-Social Moms Club, which is super fun. You could do a coffee social club, whatever you're loving right now. The social club trend is super fun, and that way you get to work with our fonts, you get to work with different artwork, you get to really put your own spin on a shirt, which is really fun. And again, what I love is I was looking at all these projects we've been making a lot of. Here's the thing. If you see viral projects, that means they're going to sell 10 times as well as you see people making them. That means they're demand, right? People love them, people want them. So all of these projects are also really great opportunities for you to start making and selling these projects. So design some, get some inspiration from our projects, and then start putting them out there. You have no idea if they're gonna sell or not until you put yourself out there to start making money. And I think this one would be a great one to start with because direct to vinyl is so permanent. If you want to learn the full project tutorial, we've again linked it up in the cards for you so you can learn the full process, all the tips, all the tricks so that you can get started and make this project today. All right, my friends, this next project I saw coming a mile away. This is a Stanley top cover, and this is made with resin. You're gonna be able to use our UV resin, which cures almost instantly within minutes, and then you're gonna be able to add vinyl. You could add some flowers or really anything you want on the inside of these right here so that you can have an amazing Stanley topper. Now, this again is a great one to gift or make for yourself or sell. I love how custom this can be. You could take an order. This is a great one to put out there and be like, hey, I'm accepting 5 or I'm accepting 10, and I'll put your own name on it. I don't know if you have a family of people who love Stanleys, but it's kind of hard to keep up with them. So people would love to buy them, again, for them to give as gifts, but this is a really simple project where you can test your resin skills, You can work with some of our amazing fonts to put vinyl on there and really have something come together out of nothing. I love that we're using the resin, but if you don't even want to do that, in the full training tutorial where we've linked for you, you can see some of our examples of what we would buy if we weren't going to use resin. All right, so definitely check that one out up here for the full video. Okay, this project I'm obsessed with. Who wants to make their own chip bags, no template needed, in Canva? All you need is some photo paper, a printer, and a crimper, and you're gonna be the Pinterest mom of the year. You know what I'm saying? Like, this right here is so much fun. These are going viral. Like, if you've not made a chip bag that's custom to you, what are you doing? Stop what you're doing. You gotta start making your chip bag. I'm obsessed with this project. Like, I just love that it looks so good. It feels so good. And again, you can design it to your liking, and we give you a full project tutorial. No complicated template to follow. We'll guide you through the entire process, from designing to printing to kimping together and crimping it. You will have everything needed in the full project tutorial linked right up here. I am so excited to see you guys make these because they look epic. And again, super custom to your party. I think a little kid's birthday is gonna be so special, and putting their name on it, they're gonna freak out. So definitely check out this project, make your own. I can't wait to see it come together. This one right here is great because it can kind of play in with if you're hosting a party, if you're wanting to revamp something for the change in holiday. I really love that, you know, you can build this and then change out the florals depending on the season, the occasion, things like that. I love this. And again, this would be a great thing to make and sell. It could go in a whole kit. I love how easy it is to add whatever you want for your vinyl. You could make this where it is interchangeable if you wanted. We didn't. We just put the vinyl directly onto the painted box after we, you know, cut it and things like that. So that was the last step. Super easy, adding that Cricut element to it and then adding in the floral. And it is so much fun. So in the full project tutorial, you'll see how we cut it, what we used, full supplies, everything needed to bring this project to life for your special occasion or the season you are trying to really transition into. If you're going from summer to fall, fall to winter, spring, things like that. It's gonna be super fun, and we've linked it right up here so you can check that out as well. So these are some of our favorite Cricut projects that we've been making lately. The one thing that is common about all of these is they're using Makers Gonna Learn files. If you wanna check out and get started being a Makers Gonna Learn member, where you get access to 15,000 plus files, 1,000 plus fonts, commercial license to make money using your Cricut machine, our full Cricut training, our community, our resources, literally everything I've ever built, you need to join makersgonnalearn.com today. Check out the link down below where you can get started for only $1, and I can't wait to see you inside the membership. If you enjoyed today's video,
y'all stop what you're doing, because today I'm gonna be teaching you how to make these viral keepsake sweatshirts. Now, I know that you've probably seen these sweatshirts all over Etsy, probably all over your social media, but today I'm gonna be teaching you how you can recreate these using your Cricut. If you are new to our channel, my name is Lauren. I'm a craft producer here at Makers Gonna Learn, and here we are a crafting membership where we strive to bring you inspiration, education, and motivation to get your Cricut out of the box and start using it. If you are new to our channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, y'all. Every subscribe helps us so much. It is free to you guys, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified every time we get crafty. Now, let's talk about this super cute sweatshirt. Now, this is one that we have already made, and I don't know if you all can see it that well, but let's go overhead. And this is the one that says Mama. Now, I have seen so many super cute sweatshirts made like this where they have taken their baby's onesie and turned it into a sweatshirt that says Mama, and I am just obsessed with that. And this is definitely something that you can do, and I want to show you some Makers Gonna Learn fonts that you can use to recreate this. However, just because you may not be a mom, I don't want you to think that this is the only one that you can recreate, because The one that we're gonna be making today, I'm actually gonna be making one out of my dad's old shirts. So this can really be a keepsake memorial sweatshirt for so many people. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't have to be one that is just made out of a baby's onesie. You can make this with so many different types of fabric, and we're gonna walk you through step by step how to do that. Now this is gonna be a no-sew method. You can see that we do have a decorative stitch along here, but this is going to be 100% no-sew, and it's still gonna be super, super cute by the time that we're done. While we're overhead, let's go ahead and talk about the materials that you're going to need. So of course you're gonna need your blank, your sweatshirt. This is just a sweatshirt that we got off Amazon that we're gonna be working with. The next thing that you're gonna need is going to be your fabric, whether it be someone's shirt, a onesie, really anything that you are willing to cut up and put on a sweatshirt. Today we're just using, like I said, one of my dad's old shirts. The material is just 100% cotton, it's just a button up. So really, whatever article of clothing that you want to work with, you're gonna need that. We do have some fabric scissors. I do have a fabric grip mat. It's very important to have a measuring tape. That way you can know exactly how big you want to cut your applique. And then the no-sew method is going to be this right here. This is going to be the star of the show. This is the Heat and Bond Ultra, and I'm gonna show you exactly how to work with this and how to make the applique with your Cricut. So, normally you would think if you are cutting fabric on your Cricut that you're gonna have to use either a Maker or a Maker 3 Series machine. Well, let me be the first to tell you that if you have an Explorer, you can do this project as well. The bonded fabric is really the key to this. Adding that heat and bond on top of a cotton fabric is really gonna help you get that nice even cut, and it's gonna let that fine point blade just go so smoothly through that fabric. So do not fret if you only have an Explorer Series machine, you can still do this project. Now, today we are going to be using my Maker, so just know that when we go to the cut settings that I'm going to be telling you, we're going to be using medium cotton bonded, but if you do have an Explorer Series, make sure you use that denim bonded setting and it should cut beautifully. With all of that being said, let's go ahead and start the process of making this amazing keepsake sweatshirt. So the first thing that we are going to do today is we are going to size the area of the sweatshirt that we want to put our applique. Now, the other sweatshirt we made did have mama across this, but because I'm using my dad's shirt, I really just want to put a heart up here in the corner. So it's going to be more like a pocket design. So I'm going to go no larger than 6 inches by, 6 or 7 inches. That's a very large estimate. I just want to cut my fabric that big. My applique is not going to be that big, but I want to make sure my fabric will fit my applique in it. So I'm going to cut my fabric. We'll just go ahead and do an 8 by 8 square just to make sure we have plenty of room. So I'm now going to bring in the article of clothing that I'm going to be using. And we're just gonna go ahead and grab our fabric scissors and we're just gonna cut off an 8 by 8 piece. Now, one thing that I do love about this is I can use these lines to make a clean line. But it's not necessary because, like I said, we're just cutting an area just so we can cut an applique out of it. Once we have the piece cut out, I'm gonna grab my mini easy press and I'm just gonna iron out this bottom half because I did cut it out of the bottom of the shirt. So I'm just gonna iron out this bottom half real quick. The next thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna grab your Heat and Bond. Now this is the Ultra Hold, and we're just gonna cut a piece that is going to fit over this whole piece of fabric. So once again, with my scissors, I'm just going to cut off a piece of Heat and Bond here. And what we are going to do before we even send this through to cut it is I'm going to add my Heat and Bond. I'm gonna iron my Heat and Bond onto my fabric from the shirt. So I'm using a mini easy press with a heat setting of 2, and I'm just going to iron this with this sticky side face down on the fabric. Now I'm not going all the way to the edge just yet because I don't want to iron it down to my pillow underneath. So I'm just going to as close to the edge as I can, and then here in just a second, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna flip this over and I'm gonna trim off the edges. That way I can go all the way to the edge and it not stick to my pillow underneath there. Once I have done that, I'm just gonna come back in with my mini easy press and I'm just gonna make sure that those edges get down really nice. Once you have done that, we are not gonna take this white piece off just yet. That will be the very last thing we do before we apply it to our shirt. So right now we're gonna hop over into Design Space, we're gonna start designing, and then we will cut out our applique, getting it prepared to add on to our sweatshirt. Now that we're here in Design Space, the design that I'm actually gonna use today is very, very simple. I'm just gonna use a heart because I wanna place it over top of where I wanna place the applique over my heart on the sweatshirt. But I did tell you guys, if you were wanting to do like the mama across the chest, let's go over to Maker's Gonna Learn. While we're here, let's talk about, this is the heart that I'm actually gonna be using today. It is a Maker's Gonna Learn file. Now to download this, all you have to do is click that arrow pointing down, and then you will unzip the file. Make sure you open it up so that it is, double click it so that you can unzip that. But let's go to our fonts, and I want to show you a font that would be great for this specific project. If you are new to Maker's Gonna Learn and you want to try out our membership, just know that we have an amazing dollar deal that you can click down below. What that's gonna do, it's gonna give you full unlimited access to our website for 7 days. And you can download 20 either cut files or fonts that is yours forever. So if you wanted to create this, you could join us for $1 for 7 days, and you could download this beautiful Varsity font, which would be a great, great font if you wanted to do a mama across the chest, dad, whatever. I love this Varsity font. That would be one that would be amazing to download if you do want to join us for $1. But really and truly, any very blocky font for this project is going to be best. You want it to have, you want the font that you use to be pretty substantial. That way you can get more of the fabric in the shirt and it showcases more of the fabric. You do not want a thin, wispy font for this project. You want something that's thick and pretty substantial. So now that I've shown you the heart that we're gonna be using, we talked about some fonts that would be good if you wanted to create a mama or a dad or have a word across the front of your shirt. Like I said, blocky fonts are gonna be best. So now that we've done that, we're gonna go back to Design Space, and I'm just gonna pull in the heart that I wanted to use. So after I downloaded that, you can go to Upload Image. You can browse it. My favorite though is going to my Finder and then pulling in the file that I need. We are gonna be using the SVG version of this file, so I'm gonna upload that. I'm gonna add this to my canvas. And then from here, we are going to size it according to how large you want it on your sweatshirt. So I did cut a pretty big piece of fabric, but let's go back overhead and really get a good idea on how large I want the heart to be. So I think I want it to be about a 4-inch heart. I think would be pretty good. So let's go back to Design Space. The width on this one, let's see how, if we go up to 4 inches, we're sitting at a little bit more than 4. Let's go down to about 3 1/4. Beautiful. Now, but the only thing is I do not want the middle cut out. So what I'm gonna do while this file is selected, I'm gonna come down here to contour and I'm gonna hide all contours, and that's gonna give me my basic shape. Okay, that's gonna make that middle, it's gonna make it all one solid image, which is exactly what I want. Now, if you want to take it a step further, you can add like text around the outside and then apply it with HTV. I'm just trying to give you guys some ideas on things you can do. I think that would be super, super cute. Let's go ahead and do that and see what it would look like, and then we can decide if we like it or not. So this is something that you can do a really pretty script font with if you are doing HTV like on the outside of the applique. So I do think I want to add a text. So we're going to go back to our website. And y'all, one other thing that I absolutely love about the Makers Gonna Learn website is the fact that I can type in exactly what I want my font to say, what I want it to say on the sweatshirt, and then I can decide which font I like the best. So I think I want to do Forever in My Heart, like right along the side of the heart, and then just scrolling down, I can see what all of these fonts look like. Like Sierra, love that one. But I really think that I want to go with this Last Love. I'm just obsessed with this font. So I'm gonna click the arrow pointing down to download it. We're gonna make sure that we unzip this font by double clicking. We're gonna double click it again, and then I'm going to install it onto my computer. Now, just know that although you have installed it onto your computer, Cricut Design Space is not going to recognize it. So we're gonna go back to Design Space. I want to always save my project. So we're gonna type in keepsake sweatshirt. And then I'm gonna go up here to view and I'm gonna reload Design Space. Now from there, it's going to pick up all of those new fonts and stuff that you have downloaded onto your computer. So what I can do is I can now go to my fonts, go to my system fonts, because that's where it's gonna be, and we're gonna type in Last Love. And now I can type in what I wanted it to say. And now I can start arranging it and sizing it around the heart as I see fit. So I am gonna size it down. I'm going to turn it this way because I want it to kind of be around here. And one thing I wanna do first before I do this is I want to come in here and I want to make each one of these its own separate line. And you're gonna be able to see why here in just a second. So I am going to go ahead and turn them this way. And now I'm gonna go to Advanced and ungroup to lines. And the reason that I'm doing this is now I can come in here and really manually manipulate each individual word. I can see that they are a little bit bigger than I need them to be. So I'm gonna select them all. I'm gonna size them down, and now I can bring them in. We'll zoom in so we can really work with them. I can move Forever, and I think I might even curve it a little bit. And you can really like manually manipulate these. You know what, I think I like it. So now what we're gonna do is I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to unite them back together. We have the heart the way that we want it. And so now what I'm going to do is I am ready to make it. From here, what you're gonna do is you are going to take your, now we are using a fabric grip mat. We're gonna take our fabric that we do have the Heat and Bond on already, and we're gonna place it on our mat, and I'm doing this with the Heat and Bond facing up. I think it just gives a cleaner cut this way. We are putting it, like I said, on a fabric grip mat, making sure it gets stuck down very well. And then I'm going to go to our second one here, and I'm gonna make sure that this is mirrored because I am gonna be cutting this with vinyl, but I'm gonna just mirror that and then come back to mat number 1, and then we're gonna press continue. Now, before we go any further, I am gonna take the fine point blade out of my maker, but I'm just gonna set it right here because I am gonna use it for our HTV. We're gonna put in our rotary blade into clamp B. We're gonna close that clamp, and then I am going to load in my mat with my fabric on it. Then I'm gonna come back to Design Space. I'm gonna browse all material, and we're gonna type in bonded fabric. Now this is cotton fabric that I am gonna be working with. So I'm gonna click cotton bonded. Now that we have our mats exactly the way that we want them, we're gonna go to browse all material, and we're just gonna type in bonded first, because then it's gonna pull up all of the different types of bonded fabric. So it really depends on what type of fabric you are working with, whether it be cotton, a medium weight cotton, a heavy cotton, whatever. But we're going to be choosing the medium fabrics like cotton bonded, because I just feel like the shirt is more of a medium weight shirt, but you can just do cotton bonded, whichever one you want, but we're gonna choose medium fabrics like cotton bonded. I'm gonna click done. We are doing this with our fine point blade on default pressure. From here, we're just going to load this into our machine. And then once it has loaded, we're gonna press the Cricut button. Now, one thing I do want to do is I just want to make sure that this cut through before unloading it, because if it doesn't, what you can do is just press that Cricut button again and it will pull it back through. It cut through beautifully, so we're just gonna go ahead and unload our machine. And you can see here, once we pull it off, how well that cut with the fine point blade. Love that. Once we have those cut, I'm just going to gently remove them off of the mat. And then I'm just gonna place down some HTV. And yes, I am just gonna go ahead and use the fabric grip mat because it's here on the table. We're just gonna place this down, make sure it gets good and stuck. We have already mirrored our HTV, so we don't have to worry about that. We are going to change our base material from the medium bonded fabric. We're gonna change it to everyday iron-on and then send it through our Cricut. Now, while that is cutting, I'm gonna go ahead and get my sweatshirt kind of prepared and place my heart where I want it on the sweatshirt. This is gonna be the same if you are doing words, just kind of get it ready. Now, if you are unsure of where to place like a pocket design, I love using a t-shirt ruler and using like this little corner here to kind of gauge where my pocket design would go. So like I would place it more so like right here, but you can decide whichever one you want. So just kind of lay it and position it where you might want it. But before we go on with that and lay it down, I do want to weed our design so I can place it down as well. So I'm just going to cut off the excess here. So now I can kind of place my HTV and my applique down where I want it to go. Once I have it placed where I want it, and I like using this carrier sheet to kind of keep it together, I'm gonna come back here on the back and we are going to remove the white backing. And then once you have the white backing removed, we're gonna place it back down, line it back up. Beautiful. And then we're going to take our mini easy press with a heat setting of 2, And we're gonna start the process of laying them both down together. Now, if you're gonna come in here with your mini easy press laying this applique down, you want to make sure that you don't touch your HTV with it. And that's it. And look how cute it turned out, guys. I am obsessed with this. You better believe you're gonna be seeing me wearing this on the channel coming up. It is such a good gift and such an easy gift for you all to make for someone, and such a meaningful gift. I am going to cherish this forever. Now, one thing that I do want to make sure you guys know and understand, if you wanted to go in and do like a hand stitch around the outside, that would really take this to the next level, especially if you just did a really simple running stitch along the outside of this. It would take this from 0 to 100 super quick. So I'm probably gonna add one personally. I'm not gonna show you how to do so here today, but you can just add a simple running stitch with some embroidery floss. Would really make this pop, and it would be amazing. So what do you guys think? I'm so obsessed with how this turned out, and I think that you all are gonna be so amazed at how well your Cricut can cut bonded fabric using a fine point blade. Who would have known? If you guys have enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit that thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell notification so that you can be notified every time we get crafty. Also, if you're not a Makers Gonna Learn member, make sure to click that first link down below. Try us out for $1. We would love to have you. If you want to grab that varsity font or grab that Last Love font that I used on today's sweatshirt, make sure you do that with one of your 20 downloads. We have some amazing things in there that you can grab. Like I said, if you join us for $1, you get 7 days of unlimited access to our website, Facebook group, and everything. You get 20 downloads that you can keep for free, and if you do not cancel within that 7 days, you do renew as a monthly member, and we would absolutely love to see you there. As always, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one.
Hey friends, welcome back to the Makers Gonna Learn YouTube channel. My name's Alicia, and today we're gonna be making a super fun fall project. Now, you've probably seen us make these on the channel, but we haven't done anything that is layered, or I would say this big. So I'm gonna be taking you all through the process of creating this design right here using a standard Explore or Maker series. This is, I would technically consider this a larger than mat project. So we're gonna be splitting the design up, and then we are going to apply it to this mat. We're gonna be using some different paints. I'm gonna show you all the specific types of paints that we love to use and all the things like that. So if you are ready to get started, let's go ahead and jump into the craft. So as you can see with this design, we did the pumpkin in white, and then we have the leaf in green, and then we have this overlay of the pretty intricate like filigree. And I'm gonna show you all how to customize your design so that you all can sell these mats. And I wanna preface this by saying these can be very time consuming. But in order for you to make a profit off of something like this, you're gonna need to make them in bulk. And I say that as in like making 3 or 4 at one time, doing all the steps together. So like when you put on this back white layer, do all of them at the same time, and then let it dry, and then go back in and do this top filigree layer at the same time. And so that's gonna help you really, when you're making things like this in bulk, in between each mat, you're gonna get a little bit more dry time. So instead of just making one, waiting on it to dry, and then putting on the black part, you can be making multiples at one time, and that's gonna increase your profit. So these sell on Etsy. You can go on Etsy right now and look, they sell for like $45 to $50 typically, and they're totally custom. The customizable part is really what sells this, because people love having a monogram or a last name or something along those lines, especially for home decor. So the mat that we're using today is actually from Home Depot, and I think I paid around $9 for this. Now you can get them at Walmart for around $5 or $6. They're exactly the same, y'all. So get them wherever you can get them cheapest. Hobby Lobby also sells these, and they are on sale every other week, I do believe. But this is just like a standard 18 by 30 quart mat that we've got here. You're gonna need some freezer paper. This is our favorite thing when we are making these mats. This freezer paper is plastic coated, meaning when I apply heat to this, it's going to tack down to our mat. It works so much better than vinyl, y'all. Using vinyl is a nightmare in my opinion whenever it comes to making these mats. This freezer paper is the ticket. It really, really helps with applying the paint and all of that. It tacks down really well when you apply heat to it. So I'm gonna show you all how to use this. We're gonna be using a 24-inch light grip mat. I've got black Flex Seal. Now, if you've seen any of our other videos, we use Flex Seal a lot. I love the black Flex Seal because it's so pigmented. And Flex Seal is a liquid rubber sealant coating. So basically this is waterproof. So making these mats waterproof is very important in terms of longevity and durability, especially because they're gonna be outside. So Flex Seal is always a good bet, but they don't always have the colors that I need. So these paints over here are what we use to paint the white and green portions of our pumpkin. So these are just the bare satin finish colors. This one is in Vine Leaf. It is the interior exterior paint and primer by Behr. And then this one is in White Veil. Something else that I love when I'm making these mats is using a stippling brush to apply my paint. Now, lots of people have different methods on what they prefer. I love the stippling brushes for this, mainly because I can really get down deep into the core mat because it's very textured and I want to be able to kind of poke all of that paint down inside there. So I will typically use this. Now, when you're picking out paint colors, if you've already got some on hand, the key is to use something that is not a chalky finish. So we want to kind of have a paint that has a latex finish. So we have lots of chalk paint, and in my brain, I'm like, technically I could use a chalk paint to paint on this outdoor mat. It's going to show up. But is it going to be waterproof and it's going to be durable? It's going outside, so you need to consider things like that whenever you're painting these mats. What I would recommend if you want to use paint that you've already got on hand is to purchase the clear Flex Seal, and you can seal the entire painting in once you get done painting with the chalk paint, or like if you've got a more matte finish paint, it's not going to be as much of a latex based paint. So I really love these Behr interior exterior paints for this project because I know that they're going to be durable and they're made for outside, if that makes sense. But if you don't have it on hand, you can always grab that clear Flex Seal, spray it on there, and you should be good to go. So as you can see, we are on the Makers Gonna Learn website. Now, if you are brand new here and you're like, what's the Makers Gonna Learn website? We are a subscription-based crafting community, and we offer you all thousands of cut files, thousands of fonts for you to use commercially for your projects, which is really nice, especially if you're planning to sell something like this. When you become a member, you get access to all of these files as well as that commercial license, which is really amazing because y'all know purchasing files with a commercial license can be very expensive. So what's really nice is that you can use any of these freely after you become a member. Now, I've just searched for pumpkins and we're gonna be using this filigree pumpkin today. I love this image. We're just gonna be downloading it straight from the website. It'll pop into a zip folder. You can double click that zip folder and then you can see right here, we've got the SVG, which is our cut file. So now we're just gonna need to go to Design Space, and then we're gonna go to Upload, Upload Image, and then we're just going to go back to our Finder or go to your downloads, even your recent sometimes. It can be, your image can be pulled into there. So I'm just gonna click, drag, and drop. We're gonna upload here, select the image, and add it to our canvas. Now, this comes in about 10 inches tall. What we need to do is get the correct sizing. So we're using an 18 by 30 mat. What I like to do is go in my basic shapes. We're just working with a basic rectangle today. So I'm gonna select that square, unlock my shape, and make it as big as my mat. This is gonna give us a really good idea of how big we need our pumpkin to be. Okay, so we've got our mat. I'm gonna go ahead and change it to brown. This is just for design purposes. It helps me get a good visual. And then I'm going to select my pumpkin. Let's bring it to the front. And then we are going to resize it. So now this is how it came in. You can see it's a little bit too small. Now, if you wanted to do something smaller, you could always pop it down there in the corner, which would be very cute. But I'm gonna show you all how to make designs this big with your Explore or Maker Series Cricut. Okay, so this is gonna be the black portion of our design. This is what we're gonna use the black Flex Seal for. It's our top layer. What I want to do next is duplicate this. Okay, we're just duplicating our pumpkin. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm pulling it over here so you all can see what I'm doing. I'm going to select contour. Okay, I'm gonna hide all contours. You can see back here behind my contour that everything turns black. Now, we want most of it to be black, but these holes right here in between the vines, I do not want to be filled in. The leaf needs to stay filled in because we're gonna be painting that green, and this is all going to be white today. And then I'm just going to X off. So this is what you're left with. I'm gonna change it to white just so you all can get a visual of what we're kind of working around here. So I'm gonna send it backwards. And y'all can see this lines up perfectly behind our little pumpkin, okay? So now we've got 3 elements. We have our mat, we've got our pumpkin outline, and then we have our pumpkin silhouette here. Now, obviously, you can see over here in the layers panel, I'm getting all these little red exclamation points. It's like, no, that's not gonna fit. Like, none of that's gonna work. So, what I recommend is slicing these images in half. I'm gonna show you all how to do that. So you can see, we'll start with our little silhouette here. This image is 17.72 by 16.74. So what I'm gonna do is create a square that is half of that size. So if it's 17.72, I'm just gonna go get a shape over here, just a square, okay? I am going to unlock it. I'm gonna keep the height the same as the pumpkin. So our pumpkin is 16.736. And our width needs to be half of what it was before. So it was 17.2. I'm gonna make this 18.86. That is gonna give us exactly half. Now, you're probably like, well, where do you line it up? What I like to do is make sure the top and the bottom of the pumpkin are covered, okay? And this side comes up a little bit higher, so I'm just gonna line it up over here. You see the vine comes up a little bit higher. Make sure that's covered. I'm gonna select both of the layers, go to align, and align to the right, okay? So just make sure that that square is completely aligned all the way to the right side of the pumpkin. And then we're gonna select both layers. Okay, we're selecting the outline as well as the rectangle, and we're gonna hit slice. You can delete that, and all you need are these 2 layers. It's as easy as that, y'all. So I'm gonna show you again. We're gonna do the same thing with this pumpkin right here. But before we do that, I need to make a circle for my monogram. So I don't want to split this up yet. What I want to do is go ahead and make sure that my monogram is filled in proportionally. So I'm going to go to my basic shapes, add a circle, and you can just measure this by bringing it over in front of the pumpkin. I'm going to change the color just so y'all can see better. And we're just going to size this baby up. You can see, you don't have to bring it all the way to the edges, just close enough, okay? That's perfect. And then you can go ahead and work on filling in your monogram. I'm just gonna pull in a text box. Okay, we're gonna use an S for this project. And then we're gonna go to our fonts. Now we're using a Maker's Gonna Learn font today. This one is called Mystical. I love this font. I think it's so pretty. And I really, really want this letter to touch all the way across. Now, if you don't like that and you want it to sit in the middle, that's totally fine. But I want mine to touch the edge to the edge so it looks like a part of this swirly, filigree moment that we're having. I like it to kind of flow better that way. So just size it up exactly how you want it. Bring it down here to your circle. I want a little bit more leeway around my letter, so I'm gonna stretch this circle just a bit, okay, just a little bit. And then we can actually select the circle as well as the monogram, go to combine and exclude, and it just slices that little S out for us. So we're getting there. We've got all of our little layers. Now we need to go back and slice this pumpkin in half, okay? We're gonna repeat the same process that we did over here with our white pumpkin. So I need to grab a square. We're going to click it over here, unlock it. The height can be that 16.76 again. And the width is gonna be 8.86 again, because it's the same size as our other pumpkin. And then we're going to select, make sure that the vine is covered. I'm gonna select both of these, go to align and align right, okay? And I wanna show y'all something. I put it up a little bit too high. Do you see where that bottom of that pumpkin right there? Let me change this color so you can see better. See where the bottom of the pumpkin is still kind of showing? I want this to go all the way top to bottom, so I'm just gonna bump that rectangle down a hair, okay? Just select it, use your arrow keys to bump it down. Okay, and that covers the top as well as the bottom. I'm gonna select them both and make sure they're aligned because I was kind of moving them around. I'm gonna align them to right again. And now that they're both selected, we're gonna go ahead, select slice, and then delete all of these extra layers. And look, we've got two halves here. We've got our letter, and then we've got our other two halves here. Beautiful, right? Okay, so now that we have all of our elements cut, the only thing that we're getting the warning sign on is that core mat, which we don't need because it was just for our design purposes. So I'm gonna go ahead and hide that. I'm gonna save my project just because we put a lot of work into this design, and if I wanna recreate these quickly, I wanna save this design in here. That way the only thing I have to do is change the monogram. So we're just gonna call this pumpkin doormat monogram. Okay, and then hit save. And now we're just gonna need to go to make it. We are using the Explorer 3 today. We are cutting on a mat. It's gonna be a 12 by 24 inch light grip mat. Go ahead and hit okay. All right, so the first thing that we need to do is cut out our silhouette. So I've got my light grip mat here. I have some freezer paper. This needs to be at least 17 inches because our pumpkin comes down to the 17-inch mark. Okay, this is bigger than the mat, which is fine because we're gonna trim it. But I am gonna line it up over here to the far side. And then I'm just gonna use a brayer to make sure everything is down. Now you do wanna make sure that waxy plastic side is down, which is a little bit more shiny. You all can see it's picking up the light a little bit more. That side needs to be facing down onto the mat, and then the more matte side needs to be looking up at you. So what I like to do to cut off this excess is just fold it up and then crease it along the edge line of our mat and then trim it off. I'm just using a True Control knife here. And we're gonna do that all the way around. Okay, back in Design Space, we're gonna go ahead and select Continue. So when we go to Browse All Materials, if you're using an Explore series, you're gonna need to type in parchment paper. If you're using a Maker series, you're gonna have the option to do freezer paper. They cut very similarly. Parchment paper setting works just fine for our Explore users. And then I'm gonna hit Done. We're just gonna be using a fine point blade today, and we can go ahead and load our mat. Okay, now this is gonna work as a stencil, so you don't wanna remove the excess around it. We actually wanna remove the silhouette of the pumpkin from our paper. So you can see here, I'm just gonna pull this up very gently, okay? Because this is our stencil. So I'm just gonna be removing all of this. We need the negative space. We're just gonna slowly remove this. Okay, so this is the portion we want to keep. I'm going to flip this over and kind of go with gravity to remove this from the mat. This is why you want to use a light grip mat for this project. And then we've got to cut the other side of our pumpkin. I'm going to cut this the same way, parchment paper. Okay, so for this one, we're gonna be doing the same exact thing. I just want you all to be prepared that we are gonna need to weed this one a little bit differently. So let's go ahead, get our freezer paper on our mat, and I'll show you all how I keep up with all of these parts. Now for this one, we need all of the outlines to be painted on. So I'm gonna be removing the outlines very carefully. There's lots of little inside pieces that we need. We do not want to lose those, okay? So be very careful. If any of them snag, just grab your True Control knife and kind of loosen them from the mat. Okay. Now, I'm not gonna cut the other half yet because I'm just gonna leave all this on here. What we're gonna do is go ahead and start the painting process. That way it can kind of be drying and stuff. I don't wanna pull all these pieces off because it starts to get confusing. It's like a puzzle. So I'm gonna save the other half until after we get to the point where we can actually transfer these onto our mat. So what we're gonna do next is go ahead, pull our mat up here, and we're gonna start painting. I'm gonna be using a Cricut Mini Easy Press to apply my parchment paper to my mat. I'm just gonna put it on the highest heat setting. And we're just gonna start with one side. So I'm gonna set these pieces over here, just to the side for a minute. Now, I like to find the middle of my mat before I iron this down. So let's go ahead and measure that. And you can mark it with some painter's tape. This is a 30-inch mat, so we need to be marking about at 15 inches. And you can even mark exactly at that 15-inch mark. And then what I'm gonna do is line up this edge of my pumpkin to that mark. And in order to make this straight, you're gonna wanna do the same thing on the bottom. So I'm gonna measure this and mark my 15-inch mark at the bottom as well. If you have any excess on the bottom of your butcher's paper, just trim it off just so it's kind of out of the way. You don't wanna trim too close to your design though, because we are gonna be painting. This is technically a stencil, so you want to have a little bit of room to go over the edges a little bit. But I'm just gonna be lining up the middle of our mat with this inner line right here on our pumpkin. So what I like to do is go ahead and get that ironed down, and that gives us a little bit more stability in our stencil. I like to kind of press down on the sections until they adhere. I find just running over it like quickly doesn't work as good. So I'm pressing for about 10 seconds on each little section. The key is to kind of stay around the edge of the stencil to make sure that everything is really adhered down. That way no paint is seeping underneath our stencil. So for the underneath layer, technically this vine portion right here is not even gonna be painted for this area. We just cut it out for the stencil, but really we're just gonna be painting the stem and then the main portion of the pumpkin. So I've just got my paint and then our stippling brush, and I'm just going to be pouring this all over and then kind of smudging it out. That's the best way that I found to make this work. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour some of that paint out. Now, obviously you don't want too much because we don't want it to seep under our stencil, but I'm just gonna pour and kind of pour it around. Just don't get too close to the edges. You do use a lot of paint here. The sample sizes that I had did work for one. Like if I did one pumpkin, it was one sample size of that paint. I almost went exactly through the entire thing. But I like to just spread this around. And you can use spray paints for this as well if you find that that's easier. This just really saturates it. Obviously, we're having to use a ton of paint. So just do whatever is gonna work best for you. I really like the full coverage look personally, but spray paint would work good. You may just have to do a couple layers. You can see what I was talking about in the beginning of the video, how it will take a long time to dry because we are using so much paint. So that's why I say making these in bulk is really going to give you the most profit, because you can be working on other ones while the other ones are drying. And you got to think, I like to have good coverage, but this is more of a rustic style design. So if you're not getting every single nook and cranny on here, it just adds character to it. And also we have to think that our black outlines are gonna be going over a lot of this. So it's gonna look good, even if it's not completely solid white and just mostly white. Now that you've got that portion done, you can go ahead and remove this. Just be very careful if you've got paint on other sections of the paper. Now I'm gonna dry this with just a heat gun, and we'll lay down the other half of our pumpkin and repeat the same process. Now this one will be a little bit easier to line up. I'm just kind of laying it, you can see right underneath here is the edge of our first pumpkin. I'm just lining up this inner edge with the edge of what we just painted. I'm actually just gonna tape this down and then we will iron down the rest of it. This is just to give it a little bit more security. And I'm gonna trim off this excess. Now for this left side, we do need part of the vine section. We are going to be painting our leaf on. So I'm going to make sure that this leaf portion is very much ironed on. That way, whenever we go to paint the green, we have a good outline and stencil to follow. So I'm going to start with our pumpkin color and then we'll do the leaf afterwards. The reason I chose to use regular paint is because I wanted a customized color. Now, like I was just saying, you can use spray paint for these. You're not gonna have to use as much paint. The selection on spray paint is just not as much as I want. And also, I just find that bare exterior paint works really well. But if you've got spray paint in the colors that you would like to use for this project, go ahead and use those just so you don't feel like, you know, you're having to use a ton of paint. So I feel like whenever I'm pouring that out, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, everybody's going to be like, ah, she's using so much paint. And I am using a lot, but I just want it to be full coverage. So it's totally personal preference. Also, when you get up to the top here, make sure you're not going into the leaf. So you can see it comes right here. I'm just gonna stop like right underneath there, okay? Remember, we'll have the black lines going around it, so it doesn't need to be like a perfect line or anything like that. I'm just kind of bringing it up close to the leaf, and we can touch up anything if we need to. Want to make sure where these lines meet that it's very covered because our monogram is going to be going there. So we want it to be very full coverage and look super clean. We don't want it to look like there's two different pieces, if that makes sense. You've also got to think, if you all make something like this, you can always do a much smaller one just in the corner of the mat, and it's not going to take nearly as much time, but it's still going to be custom and still look really good. So the bigger ones obviously should have a larger price point because they're going to take much longer to complete. But you can still sell these and do just a smaller version of what we're doing here today. You won't have to worry about slicing the image in half. You can just do it as a smaller one in the corner. You can also do it without the pumpkin color in the background. So you could do just the outline with the monogram, and I think that would still be really, really cute. So now I'm just gonna grab our green and another stippling brush, and we are gonna fill in this other section where the leaf is. I'm bringing it up pretty close to that stem because the stem will be black, so it's gonna cover this bottom portion of the leaf anyways. You won't be able to see it. Now we can remove all of this and see where we need to touch up. Now you've got to think, the right side has already started drying, so it looks very different, but once it dries, it won't be as different. So what I'm gonna do is just take some of this paint and go along this seam line to kind of seal it all together. And then I'm just gonna hit this with the heat gun to dry it a little bit faster. If it's a sunny day, you can always pop this out in the sun and it'll dry it pretty quickly as well. The heat gun works just as fine. I'll say too that this needs to be completely dry before we go in and add our outline layer on top of it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is remove the bulk of the pumpkin first. So I'm just gonna slowly remove this. Be very careful on these little pieces right here. I'm just gonna keep all this on here, set it to the side for a second, and then we are going to do our best and line this up. So I'm kind of lining it up down here at the bottom edge and then trying to kind of iron it out. I like to use tape to kind of secure it and then go in and iron it all down. So I like to get this inner edge kind of set where I need it and then let everything else kind of fall into place. Once you start working on this, you'll get a feel for it more. It's kind of hard to explain, but once you're doing it, it'll make a lot more sense. So I'm just kind of ironing it down. You can see like the paper doesn't want to lay flat. So you kind of have to get a feel for your stencil and just take your time and get it lined up perfectly, or as perfect as you can. It's not going to be exactly perfect. That's fine. We're just going to get it as close as we possibly can. So once you have the bulk of it down, we can go ahead and start putting our little pieces on there. And I just like to take some reverse tweezers or just regular tweezers, and I will take each individual piece off and start placing it. So I'm going to start from the top and kind of work my way down. And then I'm just going to do a few and then iron them down as I go. It may also help you all to refer back to your design in Design Space, or if you're working on this outside, take a picture of it on your phone, and then you can just refer back to the photo to see where everything needs to be placed. Okay, now that all of our pieces are ironed on, the best way to make sure that everything is staying where it's gonna go is to kind of fan over top of it, or you can even blow air to see if any of the pieces are gonna come up, because we really do not want these moving, and we are gonna be using the Flex Seal spray paint on this portion, and so that's just gonna cause a lot of air. Not only do you want to make sure that they're secured down, but we need to cover this half. So I'm just going to use some butcher's paper. You could use like Walmart bags or any type of extra plastic you've got laying around. We just want to make sure to cover this left side. Make sure that you shake this up really well and that you are spraying this in a very well ventilated area. I also like to do a test spray on something other than the mat before I go to make sure it's going to be spraying out directly. And then you can just do light spritzes. And I try to come in from the top to prevent anything from going under the stencil. Okay, and then I typically do one. Sometimes it needs 2 coats, but usually one does it, and you can remove it while it is still wet. Just make sure that you're not dripping any paint on to anything else, and then we can hit it with the heat gun to dry it, and we'll move on to the other side. I like to use my reverse tweezers to take up all of these pieces. Okay, it's looking really good, y'all. So we obviously need to cut out the rest. I'm gonna cut out the other side on the parchment paper setting, as well as our monogram, and then we will go ahead and lay those. And I will just do the same thing on this side that we did for the black outline. We're gonna do the same process. And then I'm gonna walk you all through how to do the letter. It's very similar. I'm just gonna walk you all through it so you've got a step by step. Now you can see that this did not line up perfectly, and that is totally on me. And listen, it's gonna happen a little bit. What I would recommend is touching it up with a paintbrush. So you can take some of this Flex Seal and just spray it out on like a paper plate and then dip into that with your paintbrush, which is what I'm going to do. But I don't wanna do too much correcting. If it's off a little bit, it's okay. It's a doormat. I mean, no one's gonna be staring and making sure everything is perfectly lined up. It still looks beautiful in my opinion. But if you wanna touch up some of those areas, you totally can do that. So for this one, we are going to weed the letter out, and then we're gonna weed out everything around the circle. So we wanna keep the circle. And then just carefully remove this, and we are gonna place it on our mat. And then just cover the area, and then we're gonna add the black spray paint. And then once you've got it completely covered, you can go ahead and remove the stencil very carefully. This Flex Seal does not like to come off of your hands, so if you need to wear gloves, do that, as well as an apron. And look, we are completely done. You just need to let it dry and it's good to go. This turned out so pretty, y'all. I love it.
So as you all can see, if you've made it to this part of the video, it's a little bit more time consuming to create these, and that's why we say make them in bulk. And y'all, you're gonna end up with a super high quality product that people are going to love. I mean, look at the finished product here. These are absolutely gorgeous. Like I was saying earlier, if this is just way too big and you feel like, oh, it's too much, think about doing maybe just a corner piece. You don't even have to do the white and the green in the background. You could just do the black outline and it's still gonna be just as beautiful and sellable. If you all like the files that we used today and you loved our tutorial and you want to become a member, make sure to click the link in the description and you can join our crafty community. We would love to have you as a part of the Makers Gonna Learn team. So we will see you all in the next video. Bye. Hey everybody, welcome to the Makers Gonna Learn YouTube channel. My name is Alicia, and today we're gonna be covering something a lot of you all have so many questions about. We wanted to show you all of the different materials that you can etch on.
We have done lots of testing around here, and we're gonna bring you some of our favorites and some of our not so favorites on the materials that we tested out. You're gonna be pretty surprised at what we found out, and I'm gonna give you a couple little tricks of the trade. That way you all can do this on your own at home. Let's get right into it. I want to preface this video by saying that if you are going to be etching at all, make sure you're wearing the proper PPE. We have lots of videos covering many of these projects. Actually, I think we've got a video for each one of these, and it's going to kind of give you a little bit more details about what you need to wear, like wearing gloves and goggles and things like that. We do use some quite erosive materials whenever we're etching, so make sure that you are always being super safe whenever you are practicing this craft. I'm gonna go ahead and show you all everything that you can etch using Armor Etch, which you can get at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, any of your local craft stores. So this is Armor Etch. It's a glass etching cream. We like to kind of test the limits here. So we have actually used this on a couple other things. We etched some slate with it. We etched a mirror with it, which technically is glass. But just make sure that you're reading the labels and you're not doing anything crazy like mixing chemicals. There are lots of instructions and stuff here on the back. As far as like following directions, you just want to stick to the directions. But we have tested it on slate and we've tested it on mirrors. We've done it on wine glasses, and it looks so beautiful and so classy. That's why I love the etching cream and like the etching technique in general. I just feel like it looks really high end and it doesn't look super handmade. Something a little bit more intense that we've used is the ferric chloride. Now, this is for metals such as brass and copper. We've even etched stainless steel. We haven't had consistent results doing copper. There are a few different ways that you can go about it. We just haven't found a way that we love, but we did do it on brass and we did do it on stainless steel. And I'm going to show you all those here in just a second because they turned out so beautiful. But if you're going to be using ferric chloride, you're going to need a neutralizing base, and that is going to be pure baking soda. So we just got this off Amazon. You can get it at Walmart, any stores that you may get groceries at. They're going to probably sell pure baking soda. This one's nice because it's like a little shaker on the top. But basically you apply the ferric chloride and then you put this on top to neutralize everything. We have tons of videos I'll link below for you all. That way you can go and see how we actually do the entire process. I want to go ahead and go over the ones that we use the Armor Etch on. So we'll just start with my favorite, okay? This is one of my favorites. We didn't actually do a project for this, but the mirror is so pretty. Like, I don't know if you guys are catching the reflection, but we basically just put the etching cream on the mirror. So we used a stencil to put the flowers on there, and then we etched over top of it. And this part is the part that's etched. And I just really love the look of this. We've also etched on slate. So this slate cutting board was a Target Dollar Spot find, which I think is really cool because I want to say it was like $5. But this is so classy. This is such a perfect wedding gift for somebody. And it etched so perfectly. Like, there's not a lot of flaws in this. You all may not be able to see it from super far away, but there's really not a lot of imperfections in this. I mean, this looks like we bought it off Etsy, bought it from the store, and I really love how the etching cream looks on the slate. And like I was saying before, we do have videos for this, so if you want to go and watch the tutorial, I will have it linked below for you all. Another thing I love about etching, especially on glass or like ceramic mugs, you can actually add color to these. So I've seen people use Speedball ink. I've seen people use Rub and Buff. This one we actually use gold Rub and Buff. So this is a Christmas decoration, which I love so much. It's super cute. But yeah, you can totally add color to your etched projects and it just gives it a totally new look. So I really love how that turned out. It did take a lot of experimenting, but we have videos on this as well. Now let's talk about everything that we etched using our ferric chloride. So my favorite project is the stainless steel cups. This turned out so good, you guys. I feel like these look almost as if they were engraved with a laser, which I think is so cool, because if you don't have access to a laser, but you do have access to ferric chloride, you're going to be able to get that same look. So these look really, really good, just using the ferric chloride and then neutralizing it with the baking soda. We've got a video linked below for you all if you're curious about the process on how to do this. It is so simple and such a fun project to do. So this is using ferric chloride on brass, which I was very reluctant. I thought that's not gonna work, it's gonna look bad. But like, this looks good, y'all. I love this. And you know, this is just like a little tray that we got off of Amazon, but this would be so cute if you etched on your canister lids, because I feel like a lot of canister lids are made out of this brass. You could do like, I don't know, sugar, flour, something on the edge, and it would be so, so cute. Or even if it had a handle, you could etch something along the edge here. So lots of options here, but we love, love, love the look of this. This is another one I didn't include in the beginning, but I wanted to show you all what it looks like whenever you try to etch with Citrus Strip. Now there's a lot of conversation about, is this etching? Is it engraving? Call it whatever you want. We're calling it etching. I want to show you all what you can do with Citrus Strip on powder coated tumblers. We have a live stream on this that is still on our YouTube channel, as well as a recorded video for you all to watch. This process is so much fun. We felt like a mad scientist when we were putting it all together, but I want to show you all the results from applying this to a powder coated tumbler. So this is a super intricate logo that we did for a local videographer. This looks like we stuck it in a laser and then engraved the entire thing, or etched, whatever you want to call it. But the Citrus Strip, whenever you apply it and then apply some heat to it, it peels off that powder coating, which is amazing. So we have done so many tumblers with the Citrus Strip method because it looks so good, so clean, and we just really, really love how it turns out. It looks super professional and just really fun to do. As you can see, there are so many different ways that you can incorporate etching into your craft projects, and there are so many different materials that you can use to etch as well. Don't be scared to kind of think outside the box whenever you're crafting. Even if you're not etching and you're just crafting in general, it's good to think outside the box. You just never know what you're going to come up with. Thank you guys for coming to today's video. I cannot wait to see you in the next one. If you're new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the little bell, so every time that we post a video, you will be notified. We will love to see you again soon. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.